We're all just passing by in this world. Let's make some noise along the way. Girl Haunts Boy is currently streaming on Netflix. It was directed by Emily Ting, who's done projects like Tall Girl 2. And I remember liking the first Tall Girl, so I need to check out the sequel. Check out our IMDb page for the full list of her work. This was written by Caesar Vitale, or Vitale. It's like Dick Vitale. It's awesome, baby! I actually don't think Caesar Vitale is related in any way. Just had to shout Dick Vitale right there. Unless you're a sports fan, you have no idea who I'm talking about. Based on a story by Dustin Ellis, this stars Peyton List as Bee, or Beatrix. Not Beatrix from Danger on Tiki Island. If you get that, boy, that is a deep cut reference. Peyton List basically was living in the early 1920s when tragedy struck a lone gunman. No, I'm sorry. Trying to be serious here. And now she has been a ghost for just over 100 years. And just so happens to be in the same house that Cole and his mother decide to move into. Cole, played by Michael Cimino, who is a boy that loves music but has suffered his own tragedy due to a recent loss. And his mother, played by Andrea Novato, who I do have to say has had quite the career. A lot of roles. I mean, that's the thing. IMDb is a great source to remind you, oh wow, they've actually, they've been in quite a bit of stuff. Peyton List seems to be on, the ascent as well as far as projects she's been in. So basically, this revolves around a ring that B happened to see at a museum, and that led to a tragedy. And it turns out this ring has a bit of a past. And Cole, when he puts on this ring, can see B. And, well, let's just say, at first he takes it sort of well, but then he can't accept that that he's seen a goddamn 100-plus-year-old ghost. And also, he's kind of struggling at a new school. There's the theme of The Great Gatsby. If you know that particular story, then you get kind of what the central theme of this is. And also, there's a girl named Lydia, played by Phoebe Holden, who I have to say does the best she can with her limited role. Actually has some good comedic stuff. And has beautiful blue eyes, I do want to say. I was like, wow, okay, she could be really good in stuff like this and also horror. I don't know why that stuck out to me. That being said, this is a coming-of-age, romantic story that basically revolves around a boy and his girl from the past, much like The Great Gatsby. And yeah, there's basically your film right there. So does that sound atypical of a lot of coming-of-age stories with a few young actors and, the Netflix presentation? I know it's not a Netflix original, but this does seem like the perfect streaming movie. Does it seem, kind of atypical? Yes. You know what helps elevate this? The performances. And just a bit of a turn of the syrupy dial to where it actually ends up being endearing. Yes, this movie got through my black heart. One of a few movies to get through my black heart this year. I'm not going to say it's perfect. There are a few well-worn tropes and cliches and such things of that nature. But even with the typical story and narrative, just underneath it, Peyton and Michael deliver good performances. Phoebe does a pretty good job as Lydia. And I do want to say that, as far as presenting a story, as far as loss and accepting that the past is the past, you can't let the past identify you, but the past never really leaves. You can learn from it and use it properly, or it can just beat you down and hold you down. It is no way to live, as a teacher once said, being reserved and stuff like that, not putting yourself more out there. Oh, yes, and the teacher is played by Brandon Michael Hall, who actually has a couple good scenes. Doesn't get a lot of time, but because it's mostly around Michael and Peyton's performances. Good. It was good for what it was. I actually did end up enjoying it. It even brought a bit of a tear to my eye. Yes, me and my black heart actually felt something. I joke about that. There actually are some endearing stories out there. And you know what? Emily Ting did a good job here. So, yeah, go ahead and check it out. Getting into spoilers, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, basically, in the beginning, not only was there rap, as our Lord and Savior Dr. Dre once said, but B is at this museum layout. She ends up going to this cutoff, part, or this part where it's under construction. She separates these two rings, and if you separate the rings, you end up cursed. So then she ends up getting hit by this car in the middle of the street, as opposed to a car in the middle of a building. I don't think we're Indiana Jones. And now Cole and his mom move in to this new place. They have a black cat where they just put it, down on the floor and let it wander around while movers are coming in. And yeah, sure, your cat won't wander off in this strange place. It's fine. The cat's okay, by the way. He plays guitar, not Ziggy. Ziggy does not play guitar. Cole plays guitar. And yes, Ziggy plays guitar. Various artists are referenced throughout this movie. Quite a bit. In fact, there's one scene where they practically just beat you over the head with a whole bunch of contemporary artists. And even some older artists. But nevertheless, he used to play with his dad. His dad died. His dad died of a heart issue. It's unfortunate. Appreciate people while they're here. And yeah, he ends up finding this photo album that basically shows B at one point. He realizes that she used to live here. Somehow their old stuff is, or some of her old stuff is still there. There was even a record player in the room that was just there for whatever reason. And he ends up putting on this ring when he finds it. And oh no, this ring, he actually can see B. CB. It's it's like CB distilled. No, it's not like that. He isn't sure how to take this necessarily. Lydia ends up a little bit earlier talking to Cole. And she's actually into paranormal stuff, even has a YouTube channel, putting videos on YouTube and everything to try and get subscribers. Who would do? Oh, I'm doing that currently. In all seriousness, they kind of develop a bit of a friendship there. Her grandfather grandfather or father owns some kind of paranormal bookstore that she works at. There are a couple half-baked things that don't really go too deep. But The Great Gatsby is a bit of a theme that goes through this whole thing. Loving somebody from the past and all that. And it turns out she's cursed by the ring. So now if he puts on the ring, because she couldn't leave the house for 100 plus years, now she can leave the house. And so they go on an adventure, and they talk about music, they talk about movies, they talk about his gal who could ask for anything more. She'll rewatch Mr. Holland's Opus at some point, because that's the one movie I can remember that being in the last 30 years. So, yeah, basically, we get a romance developing between a boy and a ghost. Does it sound silly? Yes. It's not done in a tawdry way or a ridiculous way. Okay, yes, maybe the presentation could be seen as silly, but again, with proper direction and proper performances, it takes the somewhat silly premise and at least makes it halfway decent. So, Lydia senses, because she has this, crazy ability to understand dark things, she senses that he's haunted by a ghost. She studies up more on this ring, finds out that if the rings are reunited, things can be good, and anybody that steals one of the rings will be cursed, and that's what happened to be. A romance basically develops. They have talked about music, anything from Frank Sinatra to David Bowie, and others. She sees a poster of Taylor Swift and says, oh, is she a family friend? No, she's a big pop star. And there's the cultural differences and stuff like that. The bee's knees, cool, that kind of stuff. Everything changes. You kids talk so weird these days. Get off my lawn. And the remix of Tom's Diner, at least a sampling of it as they were going to New York City, was a choice. I don't know what the fuck that was. And Tom Dyer, that one, I actually don't think anybody knows what. I did such a terrible rendition of that simple part. There's this dance competition thing where instead of doing the Charleston, they just have some fun, and. Yeah, I will say that actually, in all seriousness, Peyton List does pull off the old school looks properly. So if they wanted to do period pieces and have her be in them, I actually think she could do that. And yeah, they basically, there is a romance that develops, but she died on Halloween night, so now they can have one night where they're united and they actually can physically touch, boy and ghost girl. So B's a little bit she does enjoy her time with Cole, but also she had dreams of being, growing old, being a pilot. Amelia Earhart's mentioned. Don't worry, she grew old and happy. She didn't, though. And had dreams of having kids, possibly just not being able to live her life and everything. And, okay, there's a bit of a cop-out ending with that, but she does set up something, a little deal for him to perform for, like play his guitar. He can play guitar. The singing it's fine. It's fine for what it is. It would be difficult to get and put your voice on film, whether you're great or, average. But Lydia then ends up being able to see B after it is discovered that there is this auction to sell the other ring, but if they can reunite them, it'd be okay. But Cole didn't want to lose B, so he kind of ended up lying. That leads to a separation. He leaves the ring. Lydia puts on the ring, talks to B and says, Cole's not really a bad guy. He's just really, really lonely. And then there's a really good... If you guys have lost somebody close to you, the part with the mother and Cole talking might actually hit a little bit harder. But missing someone just means you love them. And, that was good. That was some good stuff. Again, heavy-handed. It wasn't so, beating you over the head with it. It at least worked because it earned its emotional depth and investment. And there's one shot to get the rings reunited because the things have been sold, but there's one night. So basically, B helps him break into the museum. They reunite the rings, and there you go. That's it. She had also said that when he was at the talent show that she would be there front row. So, so obviously she's been able to pass on. Now, earlier he found her photo book and saw all these extra pictures that were not put in there. He goes through them. She's been able to graduate college. She went back to her old time. And like Samurai Jack, she was able to be a pilot, have kids, all this. And that was good. Bit weird, but okay, sure. And then he's able to redo his project on The Great Gatsby and talk about the past. The past can carry on and never really leaves, but you don't have to let it define you, but you can let it help you. Something like that. He's playing on the stage, playing his guitar, a song tributed to, song tributed to B, and you know what? It was good. She was there. They can't quite meet. But you know what? Yeah. Yeah, I'll give it. Yeah. Again, Blackheart. B+. It got through to me. Is it perfect? No. I look forward to seeing what else the director can do. And you know what? It had good acting. Compared to a lot of films that have come out on streaming, that have come out in theaters, at least this one earned its, build to a good climax. Sorry, anyway, B+. Agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky handled in the description. I'm John Rentlin. I'll see you soon.